Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. How are you? Happy Tuesday to everybody. Look, make sure you share this with your friends, either on Apple or Spotify or Facebook. Going back and seeing this recording, this is going to be a special one. Pretty excited. I have watched Tyler. I first met Tyler at an event in Philadelphia, got introduced to him. I didn't actually know Tyler. And then over the last few years, I've got to know him. I've personally been to his branch. I've personally seen his culture that he is creating with inside his branch in Texas. So Tyler, welcome to Coaching with Chris.
Oh man, I'm excited to be here. And I've texted you probably like 3 times already. Like, man, I'm excited. I'm ready. So honored to be on. Glad to be here today. So go easy on me.
I will go easy on you. Tyler, I think you got a really cool story that is very important for everybody to hear. But, everybody wants to know, our mortgage story, like how we got into the business. And I always tell everybody, I feel like mortgage finds you. We don't find mortgage. But like, how did mortgage find you?
Well, I applied for a mortgage and got denied.
What?
So this is how I ended up in the mortgage industry. So I'll backpedal a little bit. I was joined the Marine Corps after high school, served 4 years in the Marines. After the Marine Corps, I got out, came back to Texas, and I went to college for accounting. During my time in college, I was working part-time accounting jobs, and I started getting interested in real estate and wanting to buy a house. Like a lot of people, is like, hey, why am I throwing away money on rent? I've got a roommate who can help pay my mortgage. I'm a genius. I'm going to build equity and get rich. So I applied for the mortgage. I was trying to use my VA loan, 0% down, no PMI. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I pay all my bills. I've got money saved, great credit. And unfortunately, I got denied because my income was like GI Bill, part-time job, rent from my roommate. You can't count that income apparently, unless Windsor maybe changed the guidelines. Anyways, the person I applied with, she's like, hey, you're not approved right now, but I actually need some help in my company with some accounting and admin and things like that. So she offered me a job instead. And I started working that accounting job for her. I never pictured myself as a salesperson. I'm introvert, behind the desk, numbers kind of geek. And she's like, you should get licensed. You'd be so good at this. I'm like, me good at sales? No way. But ended up decided to get my license, partly because I was running payroll. So I saw like how much some of these loan officers were making. I was like, oh, this is better than my accounting salary. And then once I started doing a few loans, I realized like, oh, wow, I actually enjoy this. This is like more fulfilling than just like closing the books every month and running payroll and those types of things. No offense to my fellow accountants, but that stuff's kind of boring. And just started doing a few loans here or there and kind of grew from there. I was like, all right, I'm going to do the mortgage thing and went full time into doing loans. So never would have guessed it.
What's that?
Never would have guessed like growing up that I'd be obviously doing loans.
No. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I always wanted to like be a business person, like run a business, grow a business, grow a company. So, I got to do some of those things too, through the mortgage industry. I didn't know what industry, and that is why I went to college for accounting, because I knew like accounting and finance would give me a good background. But I always pictured myself like climbing the corporate ladder. Like I'll be CEO of Apple or Coca-Cola or something like that someday. But, I settled for lesser dreams.
Yeah. A question that I had was, did you know about the VA loan when you applied for a loan, or did the loan officer explain to you what a VA loan was, and then you kind of like got educated through the mortgage process?
I did know what it was, and I was pretty familiar because when I was getting out of the military, I was doing research into it, and that's kind of when I got interested in real estate. I had a mentor in the Marine Corps who he had bought multiple houses at all the duty stations through his time in the Marine Corps, and he had multiple houses as rental properties. And, he was telling me about that, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting to me. I like this. Mm-hmm. So I did a little research on the VA loan on this website called Google. And so I knew everything there was to know about it.
Sure,
And
you're an expert.
then I talked to a mortgage person.
Okay. All right. So you entered into the mortgage business. You're doing a few loans. Are you kind of in a retail model, or what's that model that you started off in?
It's a broker model, yeah. So they were a mini core, small company, about 15 to 20 people total, and most of those being loan officers. But it was nice because I got to learn the inner workings of the whole business, being their accountant person. And I started there in 2015. So at that time, TRID was coming out and all the changes with disclosures and compliance for that. And I was dealing with warehouse lines and just, obviously disclosures, closing, post-closing. So I got to kind of experience all pieces of running the company. And then, segueing into the next topic of then starting my own brokerage, because I was at that company for a short period of time. It was like a year and a half. And I'd only closed 12 loans under my own name. And I was like, I could do this better. Let me go start my own company.
Gosh. Okay. All right. So you're working for them. You close a whopping 12 loans, and now you're like, I'm an expert.
Yeah.
And you had a desire to own your own anyway.
Exactly.
So you went to open up your own shop.
Yeah.
What did you learn the most when you opened up your own shop?
What did I learn the most? I'm trying to think to those early years.
This time frame is 16-ish now?
Yeah, so that was right at the end of 2016. I formed the company, and beginning of 2017 was really the first full year. So, yeah, at this time, I'm still just figuring out. I'm just learning how to do all the things and setting up all the parts of the company, and trying to get some loans in the door. I'm still trying to figure out how to be a loan officer, right?
Right.
But I think the realization, and maybe the listeners here can have some confidence in this if they're not that experienced. It's like, if you close one loan or 5 or 10 or 12 loans, the process is really the same for every single loan. And you don't have to be an expert and close thousands of loans to be a good loan officer, because I know plenty of good loan officers who've only closed a few loans and they're newer. But it's the problem solving skills. It's the thirst for knowledge, and I'm going to find answers, and I have resources to find those answers. I started my own brokerage. There's no company for me to go ask questions to, or who does this, or how do I do that? So, luckily I had great, wholesale lenders and other mentors who I could reach out to and ask these questions. So I think that realization at that time is hey, I can do this. I can figure this out if I'm willing to put in the work to figure it out.
Yeah. So you open up your own company, everything's going good. Then what happens?
Well, as I kind of mentioned before, my goal was always to be big CEO, have, big company, whatever. I just had these big dreams and stuff. So when I started my company, I knew I didn't want it to just be me as a one person, self-employed, and, just me doing loans for the rest of my life. I wanted to kind of build a team, and I don't know why, but something within me just wanted to have this big community around me. So that's when I started hiring loan officers and bringing other loan officers in. But even from the beginning, when I started the company, I set up the foundation and the processes, and just really try to lay the structure, knowing that I'm going to add new loan officers over time. And, I want to grow into something bigger than myself.
So now, when did you actually make the transfer then into your current company today?
So from that time in 2017 all the way till the end of 2022, I grew NXT Mortgage, which was my brokerage. We continued to kind of double every single year, add more loan officers. Obviously, we got some of the benefit of the refi boom,
Sure.
but a lot of the growth was also new loan officers who joined our company, and I trained from the ground up. I was like, hey, here's what I do. Just copy what I do. You can do it too. And because it was hard to recruit experienced loan officers. They don't want to come work for the guy who closed 12 loans. Yeah, that 6-year period was NXT by itself. And, I got to deal with all the struggles of growing a company and being a business owner. And after some time, I realized okay, maybe it makes sense for me to, focus on my highest and best use. And a lot of these things that are starting to consume more and more of my time as we grew, I wanted to get those off of my plate, as well as provide just better support and a better platform for my loan officers so they can focus more on sales and developing themselves. So we made the move to join UMortgage at the end of 2022. And so that's almost 2 years now. And that's been a great transition for us. Since that time, we've been able to continue to grow by adding more loan officers, our existing loan officers who are with us, able to continue to grow more production. We're really focused on developing our current LOs. And, overall, just like the burden of not like owning the company on me. I feel sorry for the CEOs. I mean, Chris, you're a CEO. Anthony Costa is our CEO. Like, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. So there's something freeing about like, hey, look, I'm in charge and like I'm have say and influence, but like I'm not the guy in charge. I don't want that anymore.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of broker owners out there, Tyler, that are thinking, gosh, do I keep my model or do I join a bigger company, get a bigger infrastructure, and I don't have to worry about these things, and I can go do the one thing that makes me the most money, which is originating. What advice would you give to them, knowing that you've been through it and it's 2 years down the road?
I mean, my personal experience has been great, and taking those things off my plate has given me less stress, more time with my family. I've got young kids, so it's freed me up to be more of a father figure and be home, and make the best use of my time. So those things have been good. From the position where my business was at and my capabilities, it's allowing me to unlock the next level of my capabilities by partnering and joining forces with someone else. So at some point, I feel like in everybody's journey, at some point you'll be at that crossroads. And I know I could have kept NXT with just me and growing it myself, and it still could have been great. It's not like I gave it up because I had to. But ultimately, I think every business gets to a point where it's time to make that transition, because as an entrepreneur, like, you have to have a legacy plan. You're either going to sell the business, merge in with another company, or like you're going to work at the business for the rest of your life. Those are kind of your only three options,
Right.
And then die. So like, which do you want to do? And when is that timing going to be best for you? But yeah, I mean, it's been good for me, and it's challenged me in new ways. You think like being an entrepreneur, being the owner is like this certain kind of challenges, but now I've experienced new challenges, and I've grown a lot in the last 2 years.
Yeah. I think you've done an incredible job of leading your group. I still look at it as, you're this NXT underneath UMortgage. Would you consider that you've kept your branding?
Right.
And so out there in the community, do you feel like it's still Tyler? I mean, that part probably hasn't changed a ton. Yes, no?
Yeah. What's funny is like, I don't really care about the branding in the traditional sense of like the name, like NXT Mortgage powered by UMortgage, or are we NXT, or are we UMortgage? Honestly, I kind of hate like how confusing it is sometimes. Like what face am I putting on today or whatever? Or explaining it to realtors or clients, things like that. Like, to me, that's kind of, I don't really care about that part. And I really don't care about the NXT name itself. Or the UMortgage name for that matter. Like, I really don't care. But to me, it's like the brand is me personally. What's my reputation? What do people know about me? And it is our team and our culture, like you've mentioned and you experienced. So, when people think of whatever that word or name is, if they're thinking of our group and who we are and our values, that's the important piece. And that is what has not changed. No matter what, company our name is under, like, that is what it will always be. And that's the most important thing to me.
Yeah. The way you do business is the way that I love it. and I've told you that before, which is that you're a producing branch manager. And I feel like, and guys, if you have comments on this, please answer it to Tyler, and I would love to answer it. But um, you're recruiting, you're leading, you run a sales group, which we're going to get into with your loan officers, which I've experienced, which is amazing. But you're also producing. And I feel like a lot of branch managers get to this point where they're like, yeah, I'm just done. I'm done with that I'm done with that part of my life. I'm done with this. But it's like, that's the biggest income generator that you can do is still produce. And I feel like you didn't confuse that model. Why?
Yeah, just I feel like, a lot of people, when they become a branch manager, they choose to get out of production, maybe because they're burnout or they're not fulfilled with the work of being a loan officer. But to me, when I find myself in that phase or in that moment, I can get out of it quickly and recognize how much value there is in me, continuing to produce both financially, my personal income. I make a lot more money doing loans than like anything from running a branch and a P&L. But also the ability to coach and train and mentor my LOs because I am in the weeds with them. I'm in the market, and I feel like that gives me the best ability to coach and train because I'm doing the things they're doing every day, and I'm rebuilding myself every day. I know, we talked about this before, where it's like sometimes newer loan officers will look at a top producer like me or any other top producer out there and think like, oh, well, he's got business coming in this market because like he's been doing it so long. He's getting business from his realtors from 5 years ago and 10 years ago and all these things. And I shared recently with our team my database with my realtors and where I track all my numbers. CPA guy, right? I love tracking numbers and data. And I track the year that I connected with each agent. So that's one of my things. I call it my connection year. So that was the year I first met them. And what's interesting is, my production in 2024 year to date, so much of that business has come from agents that I connected with in 2023 and even 2024. I've done more business with agents from 2024 than from agents I had in 2018 and 2019. And like, that's a testament to the fact that like I'm in the current market and I'm figuring it out just like everybody else. So I can speak to the challenges and the struggles that I experience, and I can help, coach and mentor my LOs in those same situations. And I'm not telling them, hey, here's what I did in 2018. Clearly, whatever I did in 2018 didn't work because like I hardly have any agents from 2018. Not that I ever feel like I ever did a bad job or lost agents, but I really wasn't prospecting and good at sales back then like I am now. And like the LO that I am today is way better than the LO I was then. So, if you look at any top producer today, you may think that they're kind of riding on the coattails of their past successes, but I'll tell you, they're there today in this market because they've been continuing to put in that effort. They're building themselves and rebuilding themselves every day, every month, and every year.
Yeah. Man, you said a lot of things. I hope everybody caught that of getting down and building into and taking a good look at what was my connection year for the realtor. I'm taking that, Tyler. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Plus, I think it's an eye opener. I mean, I've listened to so many loan officers or even my own be able to say, well, I have 40 realtors or I have this. And I'm like, oh, really? Like out of the 40, how many did give you a lead? And how many of the 40 have you really connected with? And realtors get out of business. Realtors quit selling, get confused. Realtors get big and they create buyer's agents underneath them. Like there's probably a gajillion reasons your 2018 relationships have went left or right and has nothing to do with Tyler.
Right. Yeah. And so like one of my things rolling into 2025, and everybody could do this as kind of a takeaway, is, I'm going to look at all my 2024 closed deals and leads per realtor. And I'm going to set that benchmark of like kind of like a wine has a year, right? Like this is my vintage 2014 realtors. Here's my vintage 2023. You know, I closed 12 deals from this bucket and 20 from this bucket and 25 from this bucket. What do I want in 2025? Well, I want my 2024 connections. That number should increase. So instead of 12, maybe that's 20. And my 2023, you know, that 20, maybe that goes to 25. My 2022s, maybe that's going to stay about the same. I might lose one or two, and like, you know, they may get out of the business, whatever it is. So that number's that. And now what's my 2025? So how many new realtors do I need to get in 2025? And how many deals is my goal to close from just my 2025 realtors? So I got to maintain or increase my vintage wine collection, but also
I've never heard of this. This
have to be stomping some new grapes, right? Like I gotta stomp some grapes and get that 2025 wine as well.
How many leads are you looking at as a goal for 2025? You're setting this in, like we're heading into year planning session. Like how many leads do you want a month?
Yeah, right now my goal. Yeah, my goal is right about 50 a month right now. So that would translate to about 600 a year. And that's a pretty solid spot for me to be for my personal production. I want to be in that 12 to 15 loans per month closed range. And based on my conversion rates, that puts me where I need to be. You know, so with refi starting to come in, that may bump to, you know, 20 loans a month, 25 loans a month. And like, great, I'm happy about that. But like, I'm also still very focused on, those are like the purchase business numbers I want.
So you're 30-ish% conversion rate, 50 leads. And then you are obviously refi will be able to add that. What are you telling, you know, we'll get into coaching and we'll talk about you speaking at Fuse but it seems like you've really are already thinking about 2025 in your plan, which I think is kudos to you. What are you telling your loan officers today in getting planned for 2025 as you're coaching? Because you coach them once a week or every other week.
Yeah. Well, we've got weekly team meetings for coaching. We've got daily sales huddles at UMortgage, which is, you know, great value from top producers every single day. And then we've got our level up coaching groups, which are every other week with like small group coaching. So lots of coaching, lots of training. I'm getting lots of FaceTime with them. They're also hearing things from other people, which I think is super valuable because my voice gets, you know, boring after a while if you hear it all the time. I mean, even the listeners on this right now are probably sick of it.
No, they ain't sick of it. Now, look, I'm going to tell you something. I went to Tyler's group and Tyler called out and we cold call. How many realtors did we have to call before we got one? Live cold call, and he got the appointment. It was awesome. We were like, call couldn't get.
Yeah, I think it was like the fourth one finally answered, and Nash is who I put on the hot seat. Just called him out in front of the whole team, like 40 of us there. I was like, hey, look, we're gonna cold call a realtor. When was the last time you cold called a realtor? He hadn't cold called a realtor in years. And like he's a high producer and he's been in the business forever. He was so nervous, but like he crushed it. He got the appointment, you know, he crushed the call. And like this is a big producing realtor too. So it wasn't like he just called some random.
Right. No, he did really, really good. Plus it was like an eye opener of everyone saying, I can do that. I think that's what makes Tyler's coaching program so cool. It's interactive. You're playing games on the screen. You have a little challenge. You're doing some giveaway stuff. So there's some feely good stuff. There's some accountability stuff. But what do you going back to the 2025 question so we don't lose that? It's very easy for me to lose that. But 2025, what are you telling your loan officers today in preparing for 2025?
Well, you know, I think a lot of people have been sitting around waiting for rates to drop as like their savior of their production. Like I'll get more loans when rates drop. Just like clients are saying, I'll buy a house when rates drop. I'm going to wait till rates drop. So we all feel like, man, when rates come down, then the leads are going to start flowing. The buyers are going to be back. I can't wait. Like it's going to be good. And even in the last, you know, 30, 60 days, rates have been coming down and buyer activity hasn't really increased that much. I know at our company, like things are pretty flat. It hasn't seen a big uptick. So, well, maybe they're waiting on the election. After the election, then the buyers are going to come through. Maybe it's New Year. Because then after the election, you pass that hurdle, it's kind of holiday season. So I don't think we'll see a big uptick until the beginning of next year. And I know we felt it at the beginning of 2024, this kind of like New Year surge of pre-approvals and leads and apps. And I'm expecting the same thing this year. So now we're in Q4 and it's like, now's the time to build those habits and that discipline. I was talking to the team the other day about the book Atomic Habits. So if you haven't read that one, that's a good one. Like,
that's a great one. I was just looking for it on my shelf. That is a good book.
You don't start building habits on January 1st because like if that's when the 2025 buying season starts. So like start building those habits now, preparing for the new year, doing the activities, laying the groundwork. A lot of those, realtor connections I made in late 2023, that last quarter, those were the ones that I started getting business from in 2024. So really just trying to keep our LOs focused on like, this is the quarter that's going to make or break how strong your 2025 is. Because if you're trying to start 2025 on January 1st, you're already like way behind the curve of getting in front of realtors, getting in front of buyers. And like, it's already going to be well past you. So, not so focused on the rates and the market and when are they coming down, and just stay focused on what are you doing? What are your numbers? What are your metrics? What are your activities so that you're starting next year strong before it even starts?
Yeah, so good. Such great advice. Steve asked, what's your strategies that I can use to keep my past customers from going to the competitors or cold calling them? By the way, you're probably dealing with two things, Steve. You're dealing with competitors calling them from Trigger, but then also you're dealing with servicers that are calling because, they don't want to lose the loan. That servicing business is a big game to be able to keep that. And how are you doing that today? And what are you telling your loan officers to do to be able to keep them?
Yeah, I've got two really big things on this. This refi market, the first one is we're at a big disadvantage as brokers because of the servicing issue and, servicing being transferred, servicing being sold and all these things from, across the board, a lot of different wholesale lenders. So any loan that, your existing wholesale lender is not servicing anymore, that's a big risk for you as the loan officer. Because even if you stay in front of that client, when you order that payoff request, like that servicer is going to try to retain that business if there's not prior agreements in place. And even any refi client, if I'm lucky and I'm talking to a guy, we're out playing volleyball and I'm hanging with him. What's your rate? Oh, I'm at 7.25. Whoa, let's refi. I get them going. I get them sold, convince them to use me and not an online lender. We get through the process. We're in underwriting. I'm waiting to order the payoff because I don't want to trigger them too soon. But then I order the payoff, and that servicer is they're gonna fight tooth and nail to keep that client. So I'm coaching RLOs how do you have this conversation up front to discredit the servicer, because you have to order the payoff, and when you do, they're gonna try to win that business. So how do you prep your client with scripting and having that conversation before it happens. So as the LO, you're not surprised by it all of a sudden. So, it's going to be hard for us in this refi market to compete with just all the trigger leads and servicers and everything out there. So another strategy there, and the big
number one, you're prepping the client.
Yeah. Number one, prepping the client. But number two is the value of your database right now. And every loan officer here, I'm sure when they're talking to a client, when they're talking to a realtor, they talk about, the client for life, I'm going to help you here and there. And my service doesn't end at the closing table. And then all of a sudden,
all the promises.
And when was the last time you talked to this client? Oh, it's been a while, 3 years go by, you didn't talk to the client ever again because you're too busy focusing on getting the next business, which is great. You got to be doing that, but you also need to be focusing on the database. So if your first call or text or whatever communication to that client is, hey, rates have dropped, you want to see, I think we can save you some money, let me run some numbers for you. If that's your first conversation, you lost. You're way too late to the game. Your conversation should be, hey, Chris, man, how about that game last weekend? I know you're a big insert team name here fan.
Tyler, let's talk about that. I am a Chiefs fan. I know you're a Cowboys fan. So, yes, that was a great game. We've had some nail biters, but we keep winning. How's your team?
Hey, my team's looking good, man. We're already in playoff form. Is what I saw.
Okay. Well, we got to have some fun on that. Some fun on that.
I saw a video like pulling out my new Chiefs jersey, and it was a referee jersey.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to the ref deal. I see. But you're saying start the conversation on something as a personal matter or something that you remember when you originated a loan, not just on rate.
Yeah. I mean, I want to refinance you in 12 months. If I'm reaching out to you in January, hey, rates are coming down, we're almost there, be in touch soon. And then in March, hey man, I think we're there. Could we run some numbers? Rates just dropped more. Let's run some numbers. I think we can save you $300 a month and cover your costs. If that's my communications, like that's transactional and you're only in it for yourself. And that doesn't feel like a client for life. I know you feel like you're giving this great service. Like, man, I'm helping them save money. I'm staying in front of them. I'm letting them know what's going on with the market, but you're not building a strong enough relationship because it's just about the numbers. And if it's just about the numbers, there's an online lender, there's a loan servicer, there's a million other solicitations in the mail that have a lower number than your number probably. And, so there's competition out there on the number. But if you're building that relationship with them continuously, checking in with them every month, checking in with them every 2 months or every couple of weeks or something comes to your mind that reminds you of them. Like I have this thing where when I get a client, especially with a common name, I'll type in a search. Outlook email search is the worst thing ever because I'll search Chris trying to find an email about the link to open up this webinar today. And it pops up like 16 other emails from Chris's 9 months ago and like literally nothing with you in it, even though I just emailed about this last week. That's my opportunity where I'm like, oh, Chris Johnson. Hey, Chris, man, I was looking for someone else in my pipeline, in my emails today. Your name popped up. How's it going, man? And like, I have to know these things about my clients. So I try to learn something about them, favorite sports team, where they grew up, college, something that's important to them. Ford is the family, occupation, dreams, can't remember the R, relationship, can't remember. But these important things about them, to know something about them and try to find those opportunities to reach out to them when it's not transactional at all. There's nothing about numbers, nothing about refinancing. You're just checking in with them. Yep. If we can start doing that is the winning strategy to nurture this database and not risk losing those clients to the solicitors and all the other companies out there when the time to refinance actually comes around.
Yeah, you got to build loyalty. I think many businesses are really good at building loyalty, and it just doesn't start by calling them to offer them a lower rate. It is part of a process. Steve, look, Tyler said something that's super important, which is, at a disadvantage, but you're also at an advantage because you're getting paid to sell part of the servicing. So part of your great price that you receive is part of the servicing and part of it is for the actual security of the loan. So between the two of them equals great price to that borrower. And we're seeing a lot of originators, creating a dual different comp plan for these streamlines, which I think you're going to see out there in the industry. But it's not about price. Sometimes it's about cost. And if we've built enough value, the cost is worth it to stay with you. But with no value, it's always going to go to price. Do you agree, Tyler?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's how many times have I heard a client say something like, oh, it's not personal. I just have to do what's best for my family. Like, it's just the numbers. And like, you've got to be able to overcome that before that even becomes a conversation.
So you spoke at the Fuse. I was super excited. I got to hear your topic. I didn't even know what your topic was. And I felt like you killed it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
What led you to like that? You've said earlier that you feel like you're an introvert. Now I have never said yeah, Tyler's an introvert. I've never like put the two and two together. Either you've really grown, you've really worked on that, or you've changed. I'm not sure where that's at, but like, did, was it like a goal? Is it something that you want to continue to work on and do more of? Like, tell me where you're at with speaking. First, tell me when you walked off that stage, uh, what did you feel?
Oh man, I felt good walking off that stage. Like I love the adrenaline rush of like being on a stage and presenting to people. I love like the prep work leading up to it. It's kind of like preparing for a game. It's like being an athlete. I love watching the film after the fact and like using that to get better and improve. Because I was not ever good at speaking. Like I was a terrible public speaker. I was a kid and I remember there was a college speech class and like I would just turn red. As soon as they would call me, I'd just turn red in the face and like could not stand in front of the classroom, like hardly say anything. So I've progressed a long way. And the cool part is the people after the fact coming up to you and like, man, your story resonated with me. Oh, thanks for sharing that. Like, oh, I learned something super valuable. And that's to me the value of public speaking in any setting. So it could be in front of, you know, the whole crowd at Infuse. It could be in front of 1,000 people or just 100 or 10 or even a one-on-one or a group of 2 or 3 people, you know, out in public. So, you know, realtors, a group of 10 realtors, every loan officer should be improving their speaking skills because sales is public speaking. If I'm on the phone with a client, just one-on-one, like that is public speaking. Can I convey my message? Can I tell a story? Can I connect with them? And can I give them an actionable takeaway of, you know, what is, you know, my objective to progress this along? So, you know, public speaking has been fun. It's not something I ever thought I would enjoy or sign up for. Maybe I was like a glutton for punishment, and even at the, you know, leading up to Fuse, like I was super nervous, right? All the night before, barely slept. The morning of, walking on stage, you're always going to be nervous public speaking. And you mentioned this when you're there. You're like, how you doing? I'm like, oh man, I'm nervous. You're like, don't worry, man. I am too. Every single time I am too. And like, you're always going to be nervous. But that's because it's important. And that's because like you want to do a great job for whatever that audience is. So, you know, loan officers who don't feel confident public speaking, I definitely recommend, you know, working on improving that skill, watching videos, getting content, getting coaching, going to trainings, and just put yourself out there in the awkward situations. Host a webinar, host an in-person event, and get that exposure. You'll get a lot better at it. And I think anytime we're challenging ourselves, we're growing, and you know, that's what life's all about. Just growing and a better version of yourself.
Yeah, I coach a group of owners, and I'm pushing them to schedule 5 speaking events. Just being able to push that through. I thought you did a great job. Going to do more of it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if anybody invites me or wants me to come speak, for sure. I don't have anything on the calendar yet as far as like big events. You know, I do a few local things here or there, you know, realtor lunch and learns and things like that. Obviously, we try to host stuff at our office too. So definitely want to do more of it. And yeah, I want to finally do the presentation that I prepped for Fuse. But on the day of Fuse, for those who aren't there, I like totally called an audible and like the morning of completely changed my speech to do something different versus what I prepped. Jonathan, he was like, you know, talk about some takeaways for mortgage and for loan officers. Like, you're a big producer. People want to hear, you know, your strategies. Like, we're talking today just about like refinance stuff. And I didn't talk about any of that on the stage. So after the fact, Jonathan was cool. He's like, it was so awesome. It was great. But I felt before I got on the stage, like the night before, I was just thinking about the event and kind of some of the circumstances. And I just felt really compelled and called to like share a different story and change my entire presentation. So I don't recommend changing your whole presentation the night before a big speech, but in my case, it worked out pretty well. And, you know, I think it was just truly like speaking from the heart, and like, you're not presenting to like present, you're there to like, Renee Rodriguez always says this, like, you're there to serve the audience, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does the audience need? What does the audience want? And like, I'm a servant of the audience. It's not about me when I'm on stage. It's about the audience.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, if you want to get good at speaking, I know Tyler's done it. I've done it. I've encouraged a lot of people to go to Renee Rodriguez's event, Amplify It. Like, it will change your life.
Life changing.
Not only make you better if you wanted to speak, but forget that part. It'll make you a better presenter.
Yeah.
And presenting that in. I got another question. What qualities do you think are the important for loan officers looking to advance in their careers?
Qualities. So it's hard because sometimes when you say like certain qualities, it sounds cliche. But I think that being extremely like disciplined and self-accountable. So that's having the routines, doing the things you know you need to do that most people put off. Just the small things, Atomic Habits, read the book, great stuff there. So having that discipline to do the things consistently, even when you're not seeing the results. I think the other one I kind of mentioned before was like that thirst for knowledge. So you have to want to be an expert. I see a lot of loan officers who just want the easy answer, and they don't really seek knowledge or seek the truth, and they just kind of want to be given whatever is easy at that moment. And I think if you can train yourself to go find answers, that will, serve you well. So, and then probably the last one is like the intensity to like act quickly.
Urgency?
Urgency. Yeah. Urgency. All the good loan officers, all the good salespeople I know, like, a new product comes out, a new program comes out, something changes, rates drop tomorrow because some data comes out. They just signed up for a new software in their CRM that does a new feature. Like, as soon as that thing happens, it's like whatever was on my day for that plan, like it could completely shift because now I'm like all in on this thing, and I'm like, okay, calling realtors, calling clients, doing this, scrubbing through these numbers and doing that. So like, I literally can't sleep at night if I'm like, man, I got to do this right now. Like, I got to get there before everyone else. I got to be the first one to do it. And that level of urgency continuously is so critical. Most of your competition out there, they're just like sitting around and waiting. They're like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'll get to that next week, or I'm just going to go hang out and relax. And like, I just got to do it. I got to do it right now. If it's on my mind, and I mean, just like the Infuse speech, if it feels important to me right then, like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. A couple ones, I'm sure. Just to add on to it, you got to be a good implementer, which is what Tyler's talking about. Good at implementing, good at connecting with people and being able to connect. Rhonda is pretty kind, and you're absolutely right. Authentic and the real deal is definitely Tyler for sure. But, being able to create impact, being able to connect, I asked my loan officers today, Tyler, I said, rewrite your job description. And what was your job description when you started? And they all looked at me and they go, you didn't give us one. And I go, I know. And that's the problem. The problem is that you need to rewrite your job description and give me 5 things that are the 5 most important things for you to do your job well. And, it was very interesting to hear what they wrote down. And I think some of them are the qualities, exactly what you're talking about today. Teacher, problem solver, relentless, refer was another one. Not only my job is to be able to ask for referrals, but is to be able to give referrals. And so it was pretty cool to hear them walk that through that. So that was a really, really great question. So you're what, I guess, I always love to ask these little questions as we're wrapping up, but biggest goal you want to accomplish in 5 years?
Biggest goal in 5 years. I'm not that big on setting like a 5-year goal that is like a tangible number or target.
Okay.
And because it's really hard to quantify, I just know where I'm going to be in 5 years is going to be much further along. And, this year, 2024 was a year where I really sat down, like, here's my goals. And I'm posting on social media every month. Here's where I'm on track for my goals that I set at the beginning of the year. And what I realized is a lot of the goals that I set were really shitty goals. Like, hey, my goal is our branch to do $500 million in production. Okay, like, how is that a goal for me? Like, yes, I want us to get there. I'm going to do everything I can to get us there. But like, it's hard for that to be a goal. So my goals are almost turning more inward back at me. Like, what can Tyler do? I can wake up before 5 a.m. 360 days out of the year, out of the 365. I'll give myself 5 days. So now I'm going to track that every day. I cannot take my new one this year was no cell phone in bed. Biggest waste of my time was scrolling Instagram and scrolling social media when I first woke up. I'd lay in bed, snooze 20, 30 minutes. And before I went to bed, I'm on my phone again, scrolling. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting so much time on my phone in bed, just like before and after I go to sleep. And so now I'm getting less sleep and I'm wasting time. So one of my goals this year was no cell phone in bed. And every month I go back and I'm like, did I do it or not? So I just keep it on the other side of the room. And as soon as the alarm goes off, I have to get up. So more goals on me individually. The more top of the funnel, the goal, like number of calls, number of activities, number of those things that are controllable by you. That's the goal you can actually track and achieve versus an outcome of, hey, I want to close 100 loans next year. I want to do this amount of volume. Like that goal doesn't really work if you're truly committed to like tracking and managing that goal. You're setting yourself up for failure if you set that. So sorry, my 5-year goal is not very good.
It's really good. I thought your advice was maybe even better. If you had to come up with a theme word for 2025 for you and your company, what would it be for next year? I'm making you think today.
I'll go with data.
Oh, I like that.
And it's the nerd accounting in me, but like data is everything. Like data matters so much, and loan officers just don't see the value in it a lot of the times. But knowing your numbers, knowing the metrics, knowing your conversion rates, and like obsessing over those things, because like I want to get this a little better. Man, I have a big drop off from pre-approval to contract, or is it from disclosures to submitted underwriting? So maybe I'm losing them here. How can I get better at this? Like that's coachable. Tyler, you're a 42% and Chris is a 83%. Man, Chris, you got to tell me what you're doing at this step of the process because you're crushing it. The only way to know that is data. Look at all the big companies out there, Amazon, Apple, every large organization, they're focused on data. They're focused on numbers, tracking those metrics. Us as loan officers and the mortgage industry as a whole do a really bad job of it. And it really starts with the loan officers because we're the ones who need to input and start with all that data. So I think that's focused to 2025, like know those numbers, track those numbers, and like really caring about the numbers.
Well, the best thing is of that it takes emotion out. Yeah. So many loan officers make decisions based on emotion, and data doesn't lie. And so I love that's a cool word. Favorite hobby?
Running and sand volleyball. I met my wife playing sand volleyball. So that's a good hobby. We haven't played as much recently because of the young kids, but also in my spare time, I do a lot of running.
You day-to-day work outfit, black t-shirt?
T-shirt and jeans.
T-shirt and jeans. Favorite t-shirt brand?
Right now I've been wearing a lot of Vuri. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
So I mean, Vuri, Lululemon, those are usually what I'm wearing for t-shirts.
Those are the go-tos.
Yeah.
Got another question that just showed up before we get off here. How do you stay top of the mind with agents? I'm trying to cast a wider net. I have a theory on this, but I want you to answer this. Moving forward, and curious how to keep it personal with so many more agents.
Ooh. call them on Monday mornings and ask, how was your weekend? You do anything fun or business? No, just kidding. Don't do that. Like, no, nobody does that crap. Terrible advice. Every single agent that is a priority agent to me, I have their social media. First of all, if they're not like active on social media, this doesn't really work, but we're probably not a good fit. I have their social media. I bookmark their page in a Google Chrome bookmark folder. And then every day or every other day, I go open Google Chrome. This is one of my daily activities, or every other day. I right click the folder, click open all in new window. And it goes 20 real estate agents or 20 loan officers I'm recruiting just opened up their pages. And now I don't need to scroll social media. I just click and look. Oh, Chris just posted about the Chiefs winning again. I hate the Chiefs. Close it. Move on. Rhonda just posted about pizza and how much he loves pizza. I love pizza too, Rhonda. You and me are pizza buddies. Close it. Move on to the next one. This agent did that. And now I'm seeing what they're posting for sure instead of relying on the algorithm. And I'm interacting with them regularly as long as they're posting regularly or sharing their stories or whatever it is. And I'm starting to remember and recognize things about their personal life through those interactions. And they're seeing me engage and seeing me. Then they start seeing my stuff more as well. So a lot of my relationship building and interacting is on social media, but it's extremely intentional and it's extremely efficient. As you can tell, I can interact with 20 or 30 like key people in a 10 or 15 minute window instead of scrolling and, seeing videos about whatever stuff that doesn't matter and not even seeing a single post from a real estate agent that I care about.
That is awesome. That is so cool. Stephanie, one of the things, I'm going to let Tyler answer this, but his theme word for next year is data. And I think understanding your realtor's data is important of how you're going to react. Can you expand on that, Tyler?
So knowing their data,
yeah,
why that's important. Yeah. I mean, I would say, whatever tool you use, there's plenty of software out there. I like using Redder. They've been great for me. Every time I'm going to call a listing agent because an offer was submitted or a listing agent because we're under contract. Before I make the call, I find their social media. I open them up on Redder and I'm trying to see their numbers. Like, what's the opportunity here? Is this a listing agent who's closed one deal in 24 months? Or do they also have, 20 buy sides in the last 12 months? I want to go into that call prepared, knowing how experienced they are and what the opportunity is. And if I can find their social media, all of that before I make the call. So that's kind of the piece of knowing their data. And, the agents that I'm trying to stay on top of mind with are the agents who I know they're doing business. Once you really know your data and your numbers, then you can start having those conversations and providing that value and that coaching to the agents as well, and start asking them about their numbers. How many leads do you need? Have you ever been through an exercise to know how many leads you need to close the number of deals or make the amount of income you want, Mr. Agent? And if they don't know that, I'll teach you. I love data. That's my word of the year. Let's do the math and get them on a call and do a whiteboard and walk through it with them. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go wider, you got to be good at solving problems too. Find the pain and solve it. And a lot of the pains with these realtors today is leads. And they just, some reason, I feel like you think it's hard to get a loan officer to call their database. It's almost impossible to get a realtor to call their database. And yet they're the first ones highly emotional and upset when some of their past customers go and buy from a different realtor down the road. That's great advice. As you're leaving us today, by the way, you did amazing. So fun, such great nuggets. Love your theme word. But if you're going to encourage us as we're going into 2025, what would you tell us all to make sure you have to do this?
Let's say, focusing on positivity, where like loan officer life is a roller coaster. I fall into the trap. I'm sure Chris falls into the trap as well. Sure. You go to these downs and like the longer you stay in that down, the harder it is to get back up. And like the more it's hurting you. So you got to turn it back to positivity. And, I try to find ways that, like, how do I get myself into a more positive mindset? Is it going for a run, working out, listening to music, yelling in my car, like whatever your thing is, hopefully not like yelling at people or anything like that. To me, another one is like writing just positive things about other people. Like I had a pretty rough day yesterday. Like there's just a lot of stress on some files and situations that were happening. And it was just kind of one of those days I was beat down. And I was like, man, I'm about to send, and let me share a post shouting someone else out. I threw up one in our group chat. I threw up one over here. And I was like trying to find reasons of like things that I was happy and good about and intentionally like sharing them about other people. And then that made me start feeling better. I was like, I don't feel so bad about how yesterday was after I intentionally did this positivity. So, the loan officer roller coaster, it's an emotional ride, and you have to know how to take yourself out of that negative mindset as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Awesome. Tyler, thanks for being on. I appreciate you. I love hearing this. Is so good. I think that the next 5 years are pretty bright for you. Your branch is going to grow. There's some pretty cool things I'm sure you've got in the weeds that you're working on, and it's just fun to watch your ride. So thanks for coming on.
Well, yeah. One last thing, just thank you so much for having me here, and believing in us and investing in us, and just coming out to our office and training our team. That was amazing, and being on our daily sales huddles. So we appreciate you and your partnership, and I'm sure everybody listening. I mean, you're just a big advocate for everyone in our industry. Always providing value. I mean, even doing this, like doing a podcast and these coaching sessions, that's not easy work to stand up and do consistently. So thank you for doing that.
You bet. Thank you, guys. See you later. Thanks for joining Coaching with Chris. Make sure you share this podcast with all your friends. You can go to Coaching with Chris on Spotify, Apple, or you can check this recording out. Thanks again, Tyler.
See ya. Thanks.